All right, you guys, I'm about to be incredibly transparent with you in this video. When I was 21 years old, I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression, and I was given anti-anxiety medication called Lexapro to help deal with the anxiety and stress. And for most of my life, I lived with feelings of anxiety, depression, stress, guilt, shame, fear, and they controlled my entire life. And I thought that there was something wrong with me because I couldn't escape these feelings, no matter what was happening in my life. In college, I set a school home run record. In my business, my very first business, I made $250,000 in the first year. I started this business. This is a 7-figure business. I live in a super awesome place. I live objectively on the surface a very good life. And it wasn't until recently when I discovered what I'm about to share with you in this video that I found a way to have internal peace, and that I no longer feel these intense feelings of anxiety, and I'm no longer controlled by my fear and controlled by my stress. And I was on a call with a friend yesterday who's seen my progression over the last 4-ish years. And he said, "Nick, you seem like your frequency and your vibration is super high. If you've been following my content, you know I talk a lot about that in my content. What are you doing?" And so in this video, I'm going to explain how I've been able to rid myself of fear, stress, anxiety, and stop being so controlled by it. That doesn't mean that I don't feel these emotions from time to time. They're human. What I do want to share with you in this video is how I let myself live free without these feelings controlling my life. Because for a very long time, I was controlled by these emotions. And I would just look in the mirror and ask myself, what is wrong with you? Why are you feeling this way? Why are you so sad? Why are you so anxious? And I didn't understand the concepts that I'm about to explain. And so what I did was I would go to substances. Started drinking, started smoking weed, started using nicotine, whether it was dip, whether it was Zins, whether it was vapes, anything I could get my hands on. Excessive amounts of caffeine, Adderall, even cocaine. Like, look, I'm not a perfect person. I'm not proud to share what I've done in the past. But I'm here to share this with you because I know that there's somebody out there that really needs to hear this. Hopefully to where it never gets to the point that I was at. And you could probably hear it in my voice because it controlled everything about me. And I would find a million different ways to distract myself from these feelings and from these emotions. I would chase women, I would go out to the bars, I would try and watch a bunch of content, I would get obsessed with certain things. Also, I didn't have to deal with my emotions because I was so afraid of them. So, this all obviously stems back to when I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. And on the outside looking in, it probably looked like I had a pretty decent life. I was playing at the University of South Carolina. I was actually about to get cut. My girlfriend broke up with me a couple months after I started taking these pills, and it felt like my entire life was crashing down in front of me. And it wasn't until maybe like 7 years later that I actually figured out how to deal with it. So if you're still watching this video, thank you. I'm about to be, I've already been super transparent, but I'm just going to open up the door for you guys. So I struggled a lot with my emotions, and growing up as a man in modern day society, you learn that you shouldn't show your emotions and that it's weak to show your emotions. And as a result of you learning that lesson, you also learn that your emotions are bad subconsciously. Now, what are emotions? All emotions are energy in motion, okay? And the first law of thermodynamics explains that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, it can only transfer forms. So how is that relevant to our emotions and why I dealt with these substances and had these feelings of shame, fear, guilt, anxiety, stress? Why did these run my life? Well, here's what happened. I would feel these feelings of fear, shame, guilt, anxiety, whatever, and I would deem them as bad. And so instead of feeling the emotion and releasing it, because all emotions are energy in motion, they need to be in motion, they need to be released from our body, I would just push it off or suppress it by using these substances, and then it would go down into my subconscious. Okay? So now, instead of the fear being top of mind, it's now in my subconscious. And the subconscious has a very impressive ability to prove itself right. And so now, my entire decision making and world frame is coming from a place of fear, is coming from a place of shame, is coming from a place of guilt, right? If I'm walking down the street and I feel shameful for whatever, like I just feel shameful for something that happened in the past, but I'm still carrying it with me, and then somebody says, nice hat, I'm going to think that they're making fun of me. But if I feel enough and I feel confident and I feel love, and somebody says, nice hat, I'm going to say, thank you, right? Have you ever talked to somebody before where you say something and they go, what does that mean? Or they take it in the exact negative way? It's because of their own internal state. It's because of their own internal subconscious beliefs about the world that they have not handled these emotions, that they're not aware of them, okay? So because I would suppress these feelings with these substances, they would control how I lived in the day-to-day, and then all of a sudden people are diagnosing me with anxiety and depression, when really I just didn't know how to deal with my emotions. I just didn't know how to be with myself and be with my thoughts. I was so afraid of listening to myself think, and I felt so shameful and so fearful and so guilty of everything that I would just suppress, okay? And so when my friend asked me, Nick, how are you vibrating at such a high frequency? Well, we need to understand what is the cause of frequency, okay? The cause of your frequency is going to be a result of your emotional internal state. You're going to emit, like you guys have probably heard the saying, your vibe attracts your tribe. Have you ever walked into a room before and somebody is just magnetic? They're so charismatic and it seems like they just love life and everyone wants to gravitate towards them. That is a reflection of their internal state. Now, have you ever met somebody before where you're just kind of weirded out by them and you can tell that they're super negative and they just have such a negative perception of the world and themselves? They might even talk negatively about other people all the time. That is a reflection of their internal state, okay? And so we're emitting these frequencies because our brains are nothing but transmitters and receivers of energy. And the frequency is the transmission of this energy that is coming up out of our body, and all emotions are energy in motion, okay? So our emotional internal state is going to emit a frequency that is going to attract or repel other people and other things in our life, okay? So if I'm suppressing these negative emotions and subconsciously, deep down, that is how I feel about myself and the world, well then that's the frequency that I'm going to emit into the world. Those are the things that I'm going to attract into the world. That is the frame of mind in which I'm going to see every situation in the world. And so how did I level up my frequency to now live from a place of love, from a place of peace, from a place of abundance? It's to remove the noise from your life. Remove the noise from your life. So I used to think that nicotine was not bad. I used to think that nicotine helped me have more energy. I used to think that nicotine helped me focus more. But all I was doing with nicotine was what? Was to suppress these feelings of shame, fear, guilt, anxiety, and they would weigh on my body every single day. And so I felt low energy, right? Because I wasn't dealing with these emotions and letting them out. So it was dragging me down. I quite literally felt low energy. And so what did I do? I went to nicotine in order to give myself artificial energy and give myself a dopamine spike, which did what? Which further suppressed these emotions that I was feeling, which caused this over and over and over again loop. And that goes the same thing for any substance that I use. They're all the same if you use them that way. So what did I do? I got rid of the substances. I also stopped listening to podcasts and YouTube videos and all this different type of stuff when I'm going on walks. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create space for my subconscious to come up to the surface so I can feel these emotions and I can deal with them, so that way I can emit them and then get back into my relationship with God and allow God to speak directly to me. If you're understanding what I'm saying right now, this can quite literally transform your entire life. Okay? And if you think that, Nick, oh, this is so woo-woo, this doesn't make any sense, you can do your own research, right? You are entitled to believe what you want. But this is what's been exceptionally beneficial for me. You need to remove these things from your life, because for me, I thought that working harder was going to give me the confidence or give me the validation that I was looking for. I was going out into the external world and pulling things into me to try and make me feel enough. The problem with that is that there was like a bucket with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much I poured into that, it was going to fall out the bottom. Because here's the thing, if you allow something to make you happy, if you give it the power to make you happy, if you give it the power to make you validated, if you give it the power to make you feel enough, then you're also giving it the power to invalidate you. You're also giving it the power to make you sad. You're also giving it the power to make you feel not enough, right? If we look at a relationship with another human being, if we allow that relationship to make us happy, then if that relationship ends, it also gives us the power to make us sad. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't try and connect with other people. What I am saying is that when we allow the validation of our worth, of being enough, come from these external things, and we make it our God and we place it on a pedestal, whether it's making more money or getting a more beautiful woman or whatever the case is, benching more weight, whatever you put your God as, if you allow that to validate your worth, you're also going to let it tear down your worth. Okay? So, I know I've gone all over the place in this video. The core piece is that you need to start removing the BS from your life, because it is causing you to feel these low vibrational emotions like fear, shame, and guilt, or we're suppressing those emotions that we're feeling and letting them linger in our subconscious, and then we're controlled by them, and that's what leaves you looking in the mirror, screaming at yourself, at least that's what I did, what is wrong with you? You need to create the space for greatness to come into your life. If we're constantly filling our brain with all of this BS, like this stupid content on social media, or these substances, or these toxic relationships with people who are on a low frequency, who operate from a place of fear, who operate from a place of shame, who operate from a place of guilt. If we are around those people, that frequency is going to affect ours. Okay? You need to start removing the things from your life that no longer serve you and becoming the highest version of yourself. And when you can do that, when you can let go of all of that stuff, then you can start filling those gaps with things that are going to move your life forward. But if you're trying to add things into your life right now that are going to move your life forward, there is not enough space for these new things to come in. Something has to give, and you have to make the choice. Am I going to let my old identity die and let these old habits die and let these old things go, or am I going to hold on to that and stay stuck forever? The choice is yours. As I make these videos, I realize that I'm just getting more and more vulnerable and open and sharing things that, I'm not always super proud of. But I was on a call with another friend yesterday, actually, and he told me that I don't need to show any persona or portray any persona on social media, that I just need to be myself. And that if I do that, then I'm going to attract the right types of people. So I'm believing in him. And it's 100% true. Your vibe attracts your tribe. The rate at which you vibrate is your frequency. Your frequency is going to attract more people who want to be on that frequency. Okay? So, a little bit more of a controversial type of video. You might not agree with anything that I'm saying, but the one thing that I know to be true is you need to remove these distractions from your life to allow space for better things to come. Happy Friday, y'all. Catch you in the next one. Peace.